check.
I hear you, Jason.
All right, very good. With that being said,
Can you hear me?
We can.
Yes. All right, Christy, you should be the host.
Okay.
Hey, Jason and Daniel, how are you guys?
I can't hear anybody.
doing well, thank you.
Was that
Okay.
Will? Yeah, who was that? I don't know if that was Will.
I should be here.
I can hear you, Will.
I can't see you, Will, but I can hear you. Hello, Tim. How are you?
Make sure your speakers are on, your computer speakers.
I think I got mine turned on right now.
Can you hear us now?
Oh, I know what's going on.
Will, I think you got something covering your camera.
There he is.
go.
Must be that beard.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Can't hear me in Larry's office.
I can't hear anything.
There's Don. We're waiting on Jane.
Will, you might be having some interference with Daniel, so you may want to mute yourself.
Okay, and he moved into the middle office to try to help that. So
Okay.
Good. Christy, do we have public tuning in now?
We do.
Great, wonderful.
Get my agenda up.
Jane should be logging on any moment.
Does everyone see the agenda?
I got mine.
Yes, I see it.
Sorry.
Has Jane logged on yet?
I'm
Yes.
here.
Oh, okay, Jane, okay. Is everybody ready?
Yes, sir.
Okay, were you gonna leave that up, you, Christy?
The agenda?
Yeah,
That was the plan.
okay. Okay, I would like to, you call your meeting to order. It is 6:09. Welcome to the remote meeting of the CSD Board of Directors. I will conduct the meeting using the following procedure. I will introduce the agenda item. A staff member will present the item. I will then call on my fellow board members by name for questions and comments. After the board has discussed the item, I will turn it over to the secretary for public comments. Members of the public should use the raise hand feature if they wish to comment on the agenda item. They will be called on in order and allowed 3 minutes to comment. To keep order, each member of the public will be limited to 1 comment per agenda item with no back and forth questions and answers. I will then call for a motion and a second as needed. I will call on the board for any further discussion. The secretary will take a roll call vote. Mr. Davis, will you please report on the actions taken during closed session?
Yes, thank you, Director Roberts. There's one reportable action from closed session. The board voted unanimously to reject a claim made by former General Manager David Edmonds. Director Quinn was absent, so the vote was 4-0 on that. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Item number 7 is approval of the agenda. May I have a motion?
I move to approve the agenda.
Greg will
Second
second it.
Sorry,
Roll call, Christie.
who did the second?
Greg's fine.
Okay, sorry about that. And so, I'm sorry, Director Quinn is absent today?
Yes.
Okay. Director Barron?
Aye.
Director Carlin?
Aye.
Director Hahn?
Aye.
President Roberts?
Aye. Thank you. Item number 8 is public comments on non-agenda items. Christie?
Members of the public may address the board on matters not listed on this agenda. The board cannot take action on any item that is not on the agenda. The board or staff may briefly respond to statements made or questions posed, or may ask questions for clarification. These items may also be referred to staff or scheduled on a future agenda. There will be a separate opportunity for public comment for each item on the agenda. Okay, I did not receive any non-agenda emails. Okay, I do have one hand up, 2 hands up. Kathy Carey.
Good evening, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yes.
All righty. Hope everyone is doing well. I would like to ask if the CSD plans on having an exit interview for the Public Works Director, Dave Von Wagner. I think it'd be, if it's not a typical policy, I think it would be a good thing to do. So the board and hopefully our membership can understand what occurred and if we could learn or do anything to improve the position. That's it.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Jiva. Jiva, you're muted. Jiva?
I don't think she's there.
Okay. Okay. Those are all the hands we have.
Okay. Item 9 is consent calendar. Christie?
Consent items are considered routine and are intended to be acted upon in one motion without discussion. During this portion of the meeting, the consent calendar will be read aloud. Prior to approval, the president will give the board, staff, and public the opportunity to pull any item for discussion. The remaining calendar will be acted upon. Any pulled items will then be heard and acted upon individually. A, approve minutes of the July 9th, 2020 regular board meeting. B, accept the register of warrants for July 2020. C, accept the register of warrants for August 2020.
Thank you, Christie. Does any members of the board wish to pull any item for discussion?
No.
No.
No. Is there any members of the staff wish to pull any items for discussion?
No.
Is there any members of the public wish to pull any items for discussion?
We have no hands.
Okay,
I move to approve the consent calendar items Alpha, Bravo, and Charlie.
thank you.
Second.
There's a second. Christie?
Director Barron,
Aye.
Director Carlin,
Aye.
Director Hahn,
Aye.
President Roberts.
Aye.
Okay, it is approved.
Okay, item number 10, disclosure by the Board of Directors. Christie?
Catch up here. Board members are asked to disclose any outside communications with individuals and organizations that have an action item on this agenda that pertains directly to them or their specific personal or private interests, and which communication is not included or disclosed in the agenda package, so that all interested persons have an equal opportunity to express and represent their interests.
I don't have any.
No, me, no.
I do not have any other.
Okay, to introduce 11A, Christie?
Okay, this would be Davis.
President Roberts, before we go on to this item, I'm not sure if our consultants are on yet. I may have misjudged the public. We expected a little bit more introductory discussion, so I told the consultant we would probably not get to their item until 6:30. Is Mr. Kayer or Mr. Ackerman on? Christie, do you see their names?
No, I don't.
Okay, if they're not on, President Roberts, I would ask if we could perhaps move to another short item and then bring this back at 6:30.
When you say short item, the next item is
Well,
11.
it wouldn't be the next item, so skip that one, but go.
I don't think any of them are short items.
They're okay. They're joining now, so I can introduce the item and then we'll have them join in. So, sorry for the fire alarm there.
Okay,
Thank you. This item is seeking authorization from the board to execute a task order with Transtech Engineers for engineering and construction management services for the gate drainage project that was approved at the last board meeting in July. Subsequent, as part of that approval, there was the need to obtain inspection-related services for the project. And so in following up on this, staff reached out to a number of firms for proposals to provide those services. And we selected Transtech because they had the broadest range of services in terms of the ability not only to provide inspection services, but if needed, and it turned out this has been very helpful, actual engineering services such as revisions to plans. We did enter into a master professional services agreement with them to have them review the plans and provide some comments in preparation of the start of the project. And as part of their review, they identified a number of items that they felt could possibly be revised. Things ranging from very expensive concrete head walls to sizes of pipes and other aspects of the project. So these were very helpful comments. What we did then was set up meetings with Granite Construction, our contractor on this, to discuss the proposed changes. Our initial meeting with them last week, they were very amenable to these items. And I see that Mr. Ackerman and Mr. Kayer are on now, so this is probably a good time to turn it over to them. But I did want to point out too that I'll let them kind of go through the changes. But again, with request before the board, we entered into an initial task order of $25,000, which was consistent with the project budget. In reviewing the needed changes to the plans, some of the additional services, we are proposing to increase that budget to $60,000 not to exceed amount. It's a time and material budget, and we're hopeful that will not result in additional costs to the project, but there could be the possibility of an additional $35,000 since the budget was $60,000. But again, we're in the process of negotiating change orders essentially with Granite that we hope will lower the overall cost and keep us within that budget. But I think, as you'll hear as part of the presentation, that there are a number of good savings. And in addition to that, I think just good engineering suggestions that Transtech has provided us to make this a better project, because there were definitely some things that I think will be very apparent when you look at the plans that they'll go through that could be improved to make it a better, more efficient project for us in the long run. And then finally, for the benefit of the public, because this is a new firm, this is the first time we've contracted with Transtech, but they are not a new firm. They're very well known, particularly throughout Southern California. They provide services to a number of public agencies, including as their in-house city engineer, which is an important position for any public agency. And the fact that they do that on a contract basis for a number of cities speaks, I think, volumes to their familiarity with the public process, which is critical here, in addition to being an excellent engineering firm. And there's a lot of background information there, and I'll let Mr. sing his praises, but the general manager and I have been very impressed with our initial interactions with them and what they've brought to the project, and I will let them take it from here. So either Ali or Michael, I'll let you join in here.
Sure. Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. My name appears as Michael Ackerman, but I'm Ali Kayer, also known as Ali. Thank you for the good, great introduction. A little bit about Transtech, just even though Don mentioned, we service about close to 50 agencies or so, and as Don mentioned, we provide city engineering, building official, plan check, full service company basically for many agencies. With that, after getting in touch with Granite and talking over some of the details and items, we met with them also in the field. We came up with some ideas to increase the pipe sizes, but yet not really change the existing grades significantly, because the project was designed, it turns out, for 25-year storm. What we did is, after our initial analysis, and Mike, you can jump in anytime if you want to have detail, we increased the pipe sizes from 48-inch to 60 inches. That's a significant increase in the flow capacity. And we kept the grades at 2-3%. We don't want to increase the slopes too much because that can become problematic. And also, we're suggesting dropping in, if possible, some heavier quarter-ton, if possible, riprap rock between the crossings in those existing channels. We're basically avoiding any extensive grading in those channels. Also, I'm going to bring up the exhibits now. It's easier to go through here. How do I get to control, by the way? Stop, rename, pin.
I think there's a request control.
I have a share screen.
Yeah.
No, I cannot. So I need someone is sharing. Yeah.
It should be at the bottom, Ollie.
I did, but it does not allow me. It says share screen. Right. You cannot start screen share while the other participant is sharing. So someone else is sharing screen.
Yeah. So I think Christy would need to cancel her screen share.
Or if Christy can pull up the documents. Did you send it to Christy and Hamed?
I'll send it. No, I did not, because actually we've been communicating with Granite up until 5 minutes ago. We were hoping to. All right, what happened here? Can I share now? Let me see.
I think so. Yes, Hamed?
Yes, you should be able to now.
Yes, I should be able to now. Hold on. Let me get into. Can you see my screen now? Is that or not?
There it goes.
Yes.
We can see it now.
So what we did is, I'll start from the top side. So this is your, I guess, east side, starting at Buttercup. So these are all the pictures. It starts here project. This is a riprap, light riprap. And Buldan is putting a pipe here, which is good. This is an inlet. And there is another riprap here. There's an existing pipe. It crosses Buttercup and goes into this channel area. Nothing is being done here, and then goes into the service road over here. And the service road currently has 4 24-inch pipes underneath. That's note 1 here. And they're replacing 48-inch, and then it exits and goes in this channel. This is your police station here, by the way, and goes into the pipe under Bear Valley Road. And that one we also recommend to change to 60 inches. Then it exits here. But there is another crossing. It's called Brown Lane here. And as you can see the pictures of the pipe here, let me zoom in if it's, because that can also create some issues eventually, but we don't have to do anything if that's not within your property, which I believe is not. This is the area, as you can see, those pipes under that. This is the exit, pipe exiting from Bear Valley Crossing. So from this point on, Woodland is just putting a little riprap here, extends behind your right-of-way line here, and it just goes into this channel and then goes all the way up and crosses Brown Lane. So this is the overall concept, and these comments we have here relate to the bid schedule. And I just happened to, by the way, receive an email from Granite right now. Let me check that. Kevin Parsons, and he did send it, and I'll be happy to share that with you too. Let's see where we are with that. I'll go with that with you, told them on as well once I finish my comments. And then, do you see my screen now as well? The numbers from Granite, or do you see something different?
No, it's the same thing, Ali. I think you need to stop and start again, or select a different screen share.
All right, hold on. Let me go back here. All right, let me. Your screen sharing. Okay, new share. Okay, there you go.
It's gonna be a long meeting.
Yeah. Do you see the screen now? Am I sharing the right screen?
Yes.
All right. Good. What we did is the left side here. Let me zoom in. Is what we found out.
Oh, yeah, he's here. He's on the screen.
Yeah, he went back to the
Yeah. Granite provided this breakdown on 7/23.
Oh, no, I thought we were here.
Okay. Granite provided this bid here on 7/23, and it adds up to, with the options and everything, to $600,000, 500 and exchange. It's almost 600, and it was awarded, say, approximately 600. This has enough details in it, so we took that and used each item in order to make it easy for Granite. That's what we discussed with them, and either revise something, add it, delete it. This way they could just follow the unit prices description of the original items. And as you can see, we're changing from 48, deleting this, making it, 60-inch, deleting drop inlets, and then deleting some of the head walls, which are very expensive, and came up with some ideas. So we're hoping they had $600,000. We're increasing the pipe sizes significantly, obviously. We're bringing a lot more riprap rock. And so 600 is what, the budget we're hoping we can get to with all these options. And I'm going to share with you now what they, by the way, the 600 includes all, our work includes all these options, which we don't have to do. In addition to 600, all these different options here, extending further down west of Bear Valley Crossing, and doing some work.
So Ali, maybe the point to make here, do we have a sense of, are we still around the $600,000 budget though? Because even if Granite came back with,
I'm going to bring it up right now, actually. It's on my screen. I'm going to bring it up. I mean, we just got it, so I don't know details, but let me bring this up, new share, so we can see what they included in their total budget. Oh, it's in here somewhere.
I think, Ollie, I don't know if we have to go all the detail.
Yeah.
We're within our budget. I think that's what we need to know and try to.
Yeah. I'm trying to display that. I don't know how all that. I don't use Zoom. That's my problem. Sorry about that. But
I think the point is, Ali, that as long as we're close with our budget, and these are still draft numbers too, so I'm a little bit, reluctant to put them out. But I think what we're generally looking for, because we appreciate that you're, just got off of negotiations with Granite. It's not finalized. There might be other things that could be added, but I think that the key takeaway we're looking for is, are we going to end up in about the same place?
Again,
maybe a little bit less, maybe a little bit more.
Right now, the amount they send us, let me just get to that. Stop share. There you go. I found it. The amount they sent to us with everything, again, we just got it a few minutes ago. We haven't had a chance option. Okay. Their base bid is 579 plus 32, about 600 range. Then optional items is 185. So it's actually not bad, because I'm looking at their base bid around 600 range. That includes third-party testing, surveying as well, includes 6-inch pipes. And then the optional items include riprap line channel, option 1, option 2. All right. So the options add up to 185. If we do all the options, you're at 796. And, yeah.
So we don't do it now, but we'll look at it tomorrow.
Okay.
The concept is we're making improvements to the project, Mr. President, but yet we need to move forward with this authorization to keep TransTech working on our behalf.
Yeah, I'd be very interested to see the proposal from Granite. So we'll get that tomorrow.
But I expect, tomorrow we'll have some time, hopefully, to devote to kind of digesting all of this, and hopefully Ollie and Mike can work through it too.
Yeah.
Because the base bid puts us back to where we were before. So I think that's the key takeaway. I'm not sure what the options are, Ali, and we could discuss that more, but that's helpful.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Sir, I hope I didn't go too much in detail. My apologies.
No, that's okay. But if we did go over the 600, which doesn't sound like we are with the base bid, we'd have to bring that back for additional authorization.
Yeah, so my question is, we'll see that proposal tomorrow?
I think, Director Roberts, that we need to vet it back and forth. This is the first look we've had at it. But certainly, you know, when Trench Tech is comfortable with, you know, what they propose, because I don't know if they've understood the revisions correctly or what, we will certainly share that with the board.
Yeah, because I want to see it. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I
I think to get back to our ask this evening, though, it's really focused on the contract with Transtech to, you know, fully manage this and to provide the type of services that you've just seen, to renegotiate with Granite, to make changes, and particularly, and what I did not, you know, touch on the importance of, you know, this wasn't really designed for a 100-year storm, which it should be. I mean, that's what wiped us out a few years ago. And is likely to happen again. So I think these upgrades are things that are needed, is our takeaway.
Okay. Yeah, originally it was supposed to be designed for the 100-year flood because of what happened a few years ago when we had the big flood. So that was the whole idea. So once again, I'm just shocked that it was only designed for 25 years and we're just now finding that out. Okay, so we need to, yeah, so Don, what you're saying is we need to authorize the additional fees for Transtech.
That is correct. Authorize this task order, which is an amount not to exceed $60,000. So essentially at the moment, we're looking at a potential additional $35,000 hit to the general fund to have them on board.
Okay, let's have board comments, starting out with Jane.
Yeah, well, the 25-year storm was one of the questions I had to know if Transtech looked at the basic hydrology and hydraulics on which the design was based. That's a question for either Ali or Michael.
We did. Michael, you want to get in a little bit?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yes, we did review the hydrology and hydraulic report prepared by Wildan. It was done for a 25-year storm. And then we reran all the hydrology and the hydraulics using the larger pipe size and the 100-year storm. And that's the reason we reduced the slope on some of the pipes. As the velocity gets faster and the water goes faster, you need bigger riprap to slow it down. And we saw that some of the riprap was undersized. So that's why we're using the larger pipe to handle the 100-year storm and the lesser slopes to slow down the velocity.
Okay, and as far as the grading is concerned, you are under the quantity for which we would need a grading permit from the county?
Oh, for the SWIP? Yeah, I believe we'll be disturbing less than an acre.
Okay, and on the replacement of the head wall, what is replacing it? Or just...
Right, excellent question. So Wildan had specified head walls, which are concrete walls, which were bid very high, and it seemed unnecessarily high. What we're replacing it with is grouted riprap. It's quarter-ton riprap, so the largest stone in the gradation of the riprap is 500 pounds, and it's all cemented together. It's going to surround the pipe and protect the slope going up to the road. So even if the water goes above the pipe level, it won't be undermining your road.
Okay, and that's good. How many days per week will Ali be on site for construction management?
I may not be necessarily on site myself, but what we discussed is hopefully once a week should be enough. Then we can remotely, by video conference call, answer any questions, or if something is needed, we can go up there to answer any questions. This is fairly, not a complicated job overall. It's, there is not extensive grading or concrete work or slopes involved. It's a pretty natural area.
Yeah, and there will also,
yeah, go ahead.
There will also be third-party testing of compaction and cement and specialty inspection. Grant had also mentioned that their engineer will be on site every day and will have daily contact with them.
Okay, and on the agreement, I see that Ali is now president of TransTech.
Yes, I am.
Okay. It wasn't clear from your CV that was included in the package what exactly your position was. Okay, that was, I think, all I had.
Thank you, Jane. Next up will be Jay Carlin, please.
Thank you, Steve. I only have a couple of questions. Jane asked a couple of them that I was going to ask, but based on your experience for this project, what's the time frame for cradle to grave in time frame?
Granite indicated about 6 weeks or so once they start the construction to do this project. That's reasonable frame. I mean, give or take a week or so, hopefully. They will be there every day, no night work, no weekend work. But that's what they estimated.
So Monday through Friday, excluding Saturday and Sunday.
Correct. That's correct. That's what their proposal is.
And I'm just clarifying. I think I heard it correctly. So by you upsizing to the 60-inch line, that takes us from a 25 to handle a 100-year storm, or that just oversizes us on a 25-year storm?
Well, what we're doing is first we're increasing the pipe size from 48 inch to 60 inches to increase the capacity, and then doing some slope adjustments and doing some riprap as best as we can, or as much as feasible within the existing profile, so that we can keep the costs and budget within $600,000. I mean, that's what we're doing right now. Mike?
And it does handle the 100-year storm. So the Q, or the cubic feet per second, for the 25-year storm was about 150 cubic feet per second. And now you're going to be able to handle over 200 cubic feet per second under your roads, which is the 100-year storm.
Yeah, I got it. That's the only questions I have. Thank you.
Okay, Jay, thank you. Greg, you have any questions?
Yeah, a couple here. Thanks for the presentation. So to go from if I understand correctly, to go from a 25-year storm design to a 100-year storm design, we need to add 50 cubic feet per second flow?
That's correct.
Which is 25%. Okay. Then if we slow the velocity of the flow through these pipes, won't that lead to additional settlement of debris inside the pipes? The higher velocity would tend to flush the pipe, and the slower velocity might allow for settling inside the pipe. Could you comment on that, please?
Yes. So the velocities that you were seeing with the 48-inch pipe were around 18 feet per second. And then you need half-ton riprap to hold that in place because it's going so fast. With the new 60-inch pipe, you're going to be right around 12.5 feet per second, which is still fairly quick. I don't think you're going to get a lot of settlement of the sediment at 12 feet per second.
Okay, I'd have to take your word because I wouldn't know, but it says 35% reduction in speed-ish. And then lastly, on the pricing, on the surface, this kind of looks like we're asked to increase your fees in order to get the opportunity to spend an extra 200 grand in options. Granted, there are improvements to the project, but we might be ended up spending 800 grand instead of 600 grand, and you want us to pay you more to to do that. So I'm toying with the idea of tabling this motion until we have a chance to review these plans and the contract documents. And I haven't even seen I mean, you just got it minutes ago too. So I'm toying with the idea of tabling this motion until we get to review that in more detail. Back to you, Steve. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, just a couple comments. I'm happy to see that you've eliminated the concrete head wall for the riprap, for the grounded riprap. I think that's a much better option for a rural area like us. I mean, we're not the big, municipalities and what have you. It was totally unnecessary. So that was a good design change. Thank you for that. If this was approved tonight, what's the time frame for you to be ready to have Granite start the job? Because we're coming into the fall and then the winter's right behind us, and I'm concerned about getting this project completed prior to winter. So what's the time frames that you see?
We'll have to ask Granite, but they said they are ready to start. The only thing is they're checking for the availability of the pipes. And they did mention they are available within 2-3 weeks delivery schedule. They did mention the half-ton rocks are not necessarily available in the immediate area, so they have to bring them in from outside. So that increased the tonnage a little bit because these are sold by ton, about $15 or so. It appears they're ready to jump in that if we give him the okay.
Okay, the other question I have is with the design changes, it sounds like to me there was some good design changes. The original number doesn't change. We're still at right around $600,000, but you have come up with some options for us to consider for under $200,000. So the question is, can you go forward with the project for the original amount of under $600,000 and not affect the design quality that you've already come up with?
Again, we have to look at how those options play, how they relate to each other. As I said, we just got it as we were on the call with you folks. We have to evaluate that part too.
All right, well, let me go back around again then. In the original project now, that you have redesigned, it includes riprap in the sections of the flow lines, and so on the outsource of the water on the other side of the road, that's where the options come in for additional riprap at an extra cost. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, primarily.
Okay, so we could complete this project for the original budget and not have to even consider those options. Is that not correct?
Again, I cannot say that with 100% certainty. I have to look at those options, but a few of the options are further down from Bear Valley Road. So, I mean, I haven't had a chance to look at what those costs are. We'll delete everything below Bear Valley Road, basically, and I don't know what that amount adds up to. And we'll look at the other options upstream, see which ones are useful, which ones are not.
Okay. I don't have any further questions. Christy, we can go to public comments.
Okay, we have Kathy Kinnear.
Good morning. I joined a little bit late, so I may have missed something. But I'm trying to understand. Right now, just the way it feels to me is we've got a little bit of the cart ahead of the horse, in that we're now, it doesn't sound absolutely sure that it's a $600,000 project. There may or may not be some options that we would want to add. It doesn't sound like the options are necessary, but they might be desirable. It just makes me a little uncomfortable to think that we would approve a project not knowing what we think the final budget's going to be, so that we're pretty clear today or whenever we do this motion what the final contract bid's going to be about. It's not like we're 5% over. You know, it's a big number to be 5% over. So I'm hoping the board has confidence that we're not going to get a big surprise out of this project. And just to clarify, the $60,000 is to pay for TransTech a management fee for this project, which I don't have necessarily a problem with, but I want to make sure that that's also a final number. That's all.
Yeah.
President Roberts, can I?
Yes.
Point of clarification, so
Sure.
other speakers can perhaps avoid it. So if, after reviewing the plans, if the budget were to exceed, or the estimated project cost were to exceed $600,000, we would need to bring it back to the board because we don't have that approval. So it's not a question of it's going to be an overrun or not. If we did, we would have to bring it back to the board. So I want to be clear about that. The action tonight is solely with respect to TransTech's contract, because the original budget only included a certain amount for construction management. It's clear that this project needed more services than what was estimated, so that's why we're bringing that item back. And we would have to, if the base project were to exceed $600,000, then we would have to bring this back to the board for action, either by special meeting or the next meeting.
Right. Well, it sounds like to me that the that the revised scope of work meets our budget, 600,000, but there are options out there which we haven't approved any options. I don't know that we're going to come up with the extra money to do that anyway. So I agree with you, Don. The motion today would be to bring on TransTech as our manager. So I understand that. Yes. Chrissy, is there any other public comments?
There are none.
Okay, I'll accept a motion from the board.
Okay, okay. I move that the Board of Directors authorize the execution of a task order with TransTech Engineers Incorporated for engineering and construction management services for the gate drainage improvement project in the amount not to exceed $60,000.
Thank you. May I have a second?
Second.
Chrissy, roll call, please.
Director Barron?
Aye.
Director Carlin?
Aye.
Director Hahn?
Aye.
President Roberts?
Aye.
The motion carries.
Just a comment, if as soon as we get the information tomorrow, would you please forward it to all the board members? I would like to analyze that spreadsheet.
We'll be glad to.
Thank you. Okay. Well, thank you, TransTech, for being on. We appreciate your comments, and I particularly appreciate your redesign of Wildan's your project. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Christy, going forward, 11B sewer system rate study.
Okay, I had a glitch in my board package, so let me bring it back up.
Sure.
Sorry about that. Okay. Mr. Melanin? Bill, you're muted.
Okay. Here I am.
There you are. Okay.
President, members of the board. So back in February, the board had gotten the first draft of the sewer rate study. That was really intended to help move forward with some new rates because the wastewater fund has not had increases for a number of years. There are capital items needed to be purchased, installed, replaced. So we did a study very similar to the water rate study of last year, had four major goals. That was to fund operations and maintenance. It was to meet our debt service obligations, that is our debt ratio that is required by our borrowing covenants, to have some reserves pursuant to our policy. And so the district has policies for all of our funds to have a reserve available for future unseen needs and provide some stability. And then lastly, to try to address the capital needs. So we had an initial draft. After the board had seen that, we held a number of informational meetings here at the office, invited all of the customers, which are those served by the sewer, approximately 500 homes and the country club are served by the sewer system. And it was during those meetings, the idea was raised that the entire community of Bear Valley Springs benefits from the sewer plant and the wastewater system, and suggested that because of that the district, through its general fund, should contribute some monies towards the rate increase. And when that would occur, that reduces the rates to those users, those 500 customers. So the board at their March meeting, we did a preliminary kind of report on this. It was still very fresh from I think we'd had our last public meeting on that Saturday, so prior to the board meeting. So it was preliminary. The board asked us to come back with a supplemental report addressing that second option of an infusion of general fund monies. That was in March. And subsequently, with the corona virus, we've had some meetings canceled, and then we've not been able to meet in person. And I know we had a very strong interest from the public in this issue. And so tonight, what you have presented for you is the addendum to the sewer rate study. And part of what we did, there it is we really kind of focused on two major capital items in the entire plan, which was a $200,000 improvement for the mechanical bar screen and the approximately $100,000 for the SCADA system, supervisory control and data acquisition. It's a computerized operational system. And typically those are included in a plant when constructed. All those that I've been associated with have had those kinds of functions as a part of their plant. So kind of looking at those as maybe the nexus being that they could have been there, should have been there initially when the whole plant, in fact, was paid for by all properties. So going back in history, back in '95, when the plant was designed and constructed and monies were borrowed, the district created an assessment district, and every parcel, 3,675 of them, paid $34 a year for 20 years to pay off those bonds, which were just recently defeased, I believe. So the rationale at that time was our existing then plant was under a cease and desist order. It had some non-compliant or illegal discharges of sewage. The threat of that recurring and or having a negative effect on our groundwater system from which all properties draw. This was prior to any Cummings Valley system. Was part of, I believe, the argument for having everyone pay. That is no longer the case. We have a tertiary system that is not hazardous in any way to the groundwater. So we looked at those two items, took a look at the history. We identified then some options, what at the time we called option one, all of the users pay for all of those rate increases as proposed. And the board has not acted on that yet. But this evening, the intent is to move forward with a plan. That is what we will have as part of our Prop 218 process. But somewhere in between, we have these two large items. They would be, as we noted here, option one, ratepayers pay for it all. Option two, those two large $300,000 worth of capital items would be paid for not by the ratepayers, but by the general fund. And then somewhere in between, i.e. either one or the other would be paid for by the general fund. So it creates four options. And we just wanted to be sure that the board had all of those. So then we've included, if you'll go down, Christy, to the residential sewer rate, we've created a side-by-side comparison. So of those four options, you can see what the net effect would be on the ratepayers of those four options. So option one, you'll see, and we've adjusted these dates from what had initially been in the sewer study because of the ensuing 6 months that has gone by. So we're proposing that this would take effect after the hearing, which would be in November, if that's what you want. Probably the next month, the rates would go into effect, and then approximately 6-7 months after that, in July, would be the next adjustment. So you'll see these are the residential rates and the effects of those different options, and then the commercial rates as well. And those commercial rates are paid by the country club. Included in your addendum then, just for hopefully as thorough and transparent a job as we could do, we did the modeling for all of them, and we put them into what we had already had for the modeling of the rates as a part of the original sewer study, so that you could see the math and how we arrived at all these numbers and various rates. So we've not changed any other of the assumptions in the original sewer rate study that we presented to you as a draft back in February, and then that you discussed. And we had a fairly long PowerPoint back in March, and we're not looking to go through that again. But the study has been out there since for everyone to look at. The addendum has only been out since I believe last Friday for folks to look at, but I think it is a relatively simple thing to look at. And in our staff report, Mr. President, one of the things that I did do and provided to you was a recommendation, and that for me, as I've gone through the history, gone through the question of a nexus for all properties to pay because of a benefit to them, the nature of enterprise funds, which are to be supported by the ratepayers. And then lastly, the project that we just had a conversation about when brought forward to the board had an impact on our road fund, which is in I'll say a weakened state. And the board had approved using $265,000 of general fund monies for the gate project, because it is a very important and has been a very high priority for a number of years, and we want to get it done. To take all of those monies from the road fund would have really weakened it, And so we were able to use the general fund for that, and the board approved it. However, the continuing use of the general fund raises a question and or concern, because we continue to deplete it. And it has only really one major source, and that's property taxes. And as the board is aware, there had been the Statler report a few years back that talked about when those lines cross where expenses exceed revenues. And fortunately, the board had taken action to reduce some expenses through dispatch or the post office, et cetera. And that has helped stay that from happening as when the Statler report had said it would. So, continuing to manage that is important. To continue to deplete it kind of works against us in trying to, have the time to make improvements and keep that general fund sustainable long term. Certainly that's our goal. So for that reason as well, I recommend to the board that you not select option 2, but instead go forward with option 1, including the capital items that we'd identified, all of which we'd included in the original sewer report. So with that, I will pause and answer questions that you may have.
Thank you. We'll start with Jane. Jane, you have questions?
No, not at this time.
Jay?
I have none either, Steve. Thank you.
Greg?
I have comments, but not questions. If Bill has more, he's free to continue, and we can come back to comments, as maybe it sounds like what we're doing.
Well, they Bill's finished. We're just, questions or comments, please.
If I might, Mr. President, the only other thing I would add is that you'll see then following the recommendation, the discussion which addresses the Prop 218 process. And so we're looking to have the hearing in November at your regular meeting. The rates would go into effect December 1st. And then in the July 1st of years 21, 2, 3, and 4, there would be subsequent adjustments as the 5 steps, if you will. So November 12th would be when the hearing would be held if you move forward as recommended. And then we would be able to send out the notice well in advance of the 45 days, educate our residents out there, the 500 property owners, of what's being proposed.
Okay, Greg, you have your comment now?
Yeah, sure. So back in February, March, when we thought about doing this, and then COVID kind of locked down everybody, I'm pretty sure the board was in agreement that we really can't present this rate increase while everybody's tucked away in their homes, and then COVID just continued to pound on us. So we're kind of up against the wall, and I think we need to take action, and I'm pretty sure everyone's in agreement with that. I love the idea that the whole community came together and helped that sewer plant make sure it did not go defunct and contaminate all our grounds, and that bond measure passed, and the community rallied for our friends and fellow residents on the sewer system. But option 2 would not have a vehicle by which to replace this $300,000 that it proposes to take from the general fund. So I'm in favor of option 1, and I do know that general fund monies could never be used for my septic tank, and so full disclosure, I'm on septic. But those are my comments, Mr. President. Thank you.
Thank you. And then my comments also, I echo what Greg just said. The COVID has really slowed this process down, and I've been able to review this whole issue and absolutely believe that option 1 is the only one that we should take, because the people that are using the sewer system should be the ones responsible to pay. It's a big nut to crack for everybody, but that's the proper thing to do, and I would recommend option 1 also. So that's my comments. And then moving on, Christy, to the public comments.
Did you want to ask Director Barron or Director Carlin whether they have comments?
Sure. Jane?
I was asked and I passed for
Yeah.
them.
Director Quinn
I
is
just
now.
had one comment about something that Bill said, and that was that even though we have a tertiary system without a proper permit, we could not add our reclaimed wastewater to groundwater. That was just a
Right.
clarification I wanted to make.
Okay. Okay, Jay, do you want to come back with a comment or move forward?
I don't have any other comments. Both your comments and Greg's comments are perfect and spot on. I agree with both of you. Where, a lot of discussion, a lot of thought process, a lot of back and forth. I'm actually glad to actually see that we've come to I think where we're coming to a decision where the right thing that we're going to do is to move forward would be, in my opinion, option one. And I will also mention that I am on septic tank as well.
Okay.
Mr. President?
Yes.
I don't know if you can see on your screen, but Director Quinn is in attendance.
I cannot see him on the screen. I am so sorry. Terry, welcome.
Well, thank you. Thank you. I thought I was an orphan. First of all, there's so much facial foliage now that I thought I'm being ostracized. But
here I go.
With the notation that I came in about, I'm guessing, 2/3 of the way into Bill's presentation, I'm also guessing that his the gist of what Bill had to say was essentially what's in the board package without any huge blow-ups. And so I did read that, and no, I have no additional questions.
Okay, thank you. I don't have you on the screen, so I didn't know you were there. I apologize.
It's okay.
Okay, Christy, on to public comments.
Okay, we have 2 hands raised, and then I do have an email comment. So Kathy Kinnear.
I want to thank you for recognizing that option 1 is the only legal option, and moving forward with that. I was going to give you another option, an option 3, which is not to do those capital improvements, because it's my understanding they're not required by the permit, but I understand they're desirable. So I'm glad the sewer users will be paying for them. So I want to thank the board for that.
Thank you, Kathy.
Okay, Fred Hicks.
Yeah, thank you. I just wanted to echo again appreciation and thanks for taking the time to look at this, reevaluate it, run the numbers, and go forward with option 1, which is, I believe, the best option moving forward from a general funds perspective. So again, thank the board for that, and the work, and Bill's staff for the work they put in to get this proposal done and out to you guys.
Thanks, Fred. I appreciate that.
Okay, we have another hand. Jiva, I'm going to give you a try.
Can you hear me now?
We can. Oops. Try again.
Technical difficulty, it seems like to me.
Christy, did you want to read the email comment while we're waiting?
Okay. This one is from Kara Cooper. Board members and GM, first, the option 2 of sewer should not be considered at all until you have completed all the maintenance in the valley. The general fund should be used to catch up on the following items which affect everyone in the valley. Roads, easements, weeds everywhere, including tumbleweeds, which are a rolling fire hazard and traffic hazard, also weeds now growing on roadways. 2, drainage easements, maintenance not happening at all. Major work needed. Brush needs to be removed, fire hazard, especially around pipes that go under the roadway. These pipes are also filled with dirt, trash, and weeds. Erosion is taking place in and around the drainage system. If not taken care of soon, we will have the roadway damage or flooding. Tree limbs along Bear Valley Road need to be trimmed as now some are so low, large trucks are starting to hit them. These are just some of the issues facing the CSD that need to be addressed. The $230,000 will go a long way to fixing the bare basics of road repair. The board needs to act responsibly and drop option 2. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, now just
Yeah, give it back to. Okay.
Can you hear
There
me
you go.
now,
Yes.
Christy?
Yes.
Yes, I wanted to thank everyone for the work they did, and especially I wanted to thank Bill that he worked so hard to get this out the Friday prior to the weekend, knowing everybody was busy, and this was a big deal for the meeting. So I wanted to acknowledge all the effort that Bill and his team put into getting this addendum done. So thank you very much for the extra effort.
Thank you, Yogiva. If there's no more hands up, Chrissy?
No more?
Okay, I'll accept the motion, please.
Mr. President,
The Board of Directors to see the sewer rate study and addendum and proceed with the proposed rate adjustments presented as option number 1. And I move the Board of Directors adopt Resolution 20-21-10, setting a public hearing on the new rates for the sewer service and authorizing notice to property owners.
And Greg will second that.
Okay. Roll call, Christy.
Okay, so this is for both motions. If you
Yes.
wish to vote differently, please let me know. Director Barron?
Aye.
Director Carlin?
Aye.
Director Hahn?
Aye.
Vice President Quinn?
Aye.
President Roberts?
Aye.
Actually, just to be clean, I'm going to go ahead and do another roll call for the second motion.
That'll be fine.
Thank you. Director Barron?
Aye.
Director Carlin?
Aye.
Director Hahn?
Aye.
Vice President Quinn?
Aye.
President Roberts?
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Moving forward, introduce 11C, record retention schedule and policy. Christy?
Okay, this is my item here. We are updating our records retention policy. The current one we have was adopted by the board in 2008. It's outdated. It's also very cumbersome because it's not tailored to a special district. And there are some laws and best practices that need to be followed. So we retained, a consultant to help us. She came in and she evaluated our practices, what we have and what we need to keep. We interviewed with all of our department heads and supervisors, and she developed a schedule. And so now what we need to do is adopt it, and that way we can be updated and compliant with the law. And then at the same time, we also, our current retention schedule, or it's in our district code, and it should be adopted by ordinance, by resolution rather than ordinance, so that we can update it when it needs updating regularly. So part of the action tonight would be to introduce ordinance 2253, repealing that chapter of our ordinance code, and that way we can just continue to adopt these by resolution and keep it updated.
Okay.
If I may. Sorry, just want to add there was an excellent summary from Christy. With respect to the ordinance, I just wanted to note that the chapter we're repealing had records retention, but it also had access to public records and some copying charge information. And the board has already adopted by policy a Public Records Act. So we decided to, it'd be appropriate to repeal the entire chapter, which includes the record retention, as Christy noted. Thank you.
Okay. Comments by the board? Jane?
It was just amazing to me to see the amount of work and effort that was put into this records retention. I'm sure that in the long run, it'll be for the best, but wow, that's all.
Thank you.
Good comment. Jay?
Jane, you kind of beat me to the punch. I didn't know there were so many documents or options for storage. A lot of things to consider. That would also include our videos here as well, online.
There is a policy about for a retention of videos, and that would be.
I must have missed that one over there, but no, no other comments.
Okay, great.
I have no comments on this. Thank you.
Thank you. Terry?
I certainly concur with Jane and Jay that it is an impressive body of work to get through. Better than someone having to read it, but I'm sure in the long run it's going to be very helpful. No further comments.
Thank you. I echo the exact same thing because you don't realize how much work is involved to do this, and because we board members, we see this and we're amazed at the efforts, and I just hope that that all the members of Bear Valley appreciate what our staff does, because they're unsung heroes, and I just want to say that the amount of work that they put in is amazing. So thank you very much, Christy, and your crew.
Thank you.
Okay, public comments?
I do not have any hands raised.
Okay, we'll accept the motion.
We have two motions.
Yes.
Can we do them one at a time?
Sure.
Yeah, I would suggest one at a time. Thank you.
Okay.
I move the Board of Directors adopt Resolution 20-21-11 approving the records retention schedule set forth as Exhibit A.
Second.
Take care.
Director Barron?
Aye.
Director Carlin?
Aye.
Director Hahn?
Aye.
Vice President Quinn?
Aye.
President Roberts?
Aye. And then the second
motion, I move the Board of Directors introduce ordinance 20-253 repealing Chapter 9 District Records of Title I Administration of the District Code.
Second.
Okay. Director Barron?
Aye.
Director Carlin?
Aye.
Director Hahn?
Aye.
Vice President Quinn?
Aye.
President Roberts?
Aye.
Okay, and just as an aside, passing an ordinance is a two-part process. So this is the first part, the introduction. It will come back at the next meeting for adoption.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. Item 11D, adopt resolution 20-21-12 approving district personnel policies and employee manuals. Christy?
This is my second big project that we're hoping to bring to completion tonight. It's been about 1.5 years in the making. Yeah, almost 2 years. We have gone through and updated all of our personnel policies. They have gone through staff, they've gone through committee, they've gone to the board, they've gone through legal, they've gone back to legal, and then back to the board. And we are finally finished and ready to consolidate everything, finalize it, and have some updated personnel policies and an updated employee manual if the board concurs. And the only, I think, change that we should note is that currently our policy is our vacation leave that is earned and accrued is capped at 320 hours. And on suggestion by the board and then the administration committee, we did some research and found that 240 hours of as a cap is more the standard. So that's what we're proposing in this update. But in order to take care of our employees who have exceeded that and then not penalize them for hitting the cap already, we're proposing a one-time buyout down to 220 hours, which would give everybody 20 hours to play with so they're not immediately back up at the cap. And that's going to be approximately $26,000. But in the long run, the theory is that it will save us by reducing our accrued liability in the future.
Okay. Comments from the board, Jane?
I have none.
Jay?
No, I'm going to mirror. I read through the entire policy handbook. I've been on a couple of the committees. I thank you for taking the suggestion of capping. It's as for financial, liabilities at the end. I'm very appreciative that we've modified the staff report for that. And thank you for your diligent work, Christy, and your team.
Okay, great.
Congratulations to everyone that put this together. A 2-year project coming to an end is a very satisfying experience. So that's all I had to say.
Terry?
Same comments as applied to the previous item. Really good work.
And I have the same comments. Okay. So going on to the public, Christy.
We do not have any hands.
Okay, we'll entertain a motion, please.
I move the Board of Directors adopt Resolution 20/21-10 and approve the district personnel policies and employee manual.
Second.
Director Hahn, that is a typo. It should be 2021-12. I'm sorry.
12, yeah.
I will amend my motion as noted, 20/21-12.
And that was seconded by Director Barron?
Yes.
Okay. Director Barron?
Aye.
Director Carlin?
Aye.
Director Hahn?
Aye.
Vice President Quinn?
Aye.
President Roberts?
Aye. Okay. Moving along, item 11E, authorize the general manager to execute a contract in an amount not to exceed $9,638 with Cobalt Community Research for the 2020 Bear Valley Community Engagement Study. And this is Ms. Clark.
Mr. President, I'm going to stand in for Ms. Clark. She had a personal item come up, and so I've offered to handle this. As the board knows, and maybe many of the members of the public been talking about doing a community survey, and they're called satisfaction surveys. And the intent is to get feedback from our residents about how we're doing. And with that, we can focus our energies on the things that are more satisfying to our community and our community members. We had hoped, but it hadn't panned out, to kind of do this in conjunction with the BVSA. But nonetheless, the proposal here is with Cobalt Community Research. And I will tell you, I, in a prior community, did a survey using Cobalt and was satisfied with it. They have standardized questions. Certainly, you can do customization. But for the most part, what we're looking for are more of those standardized questions. There are many questions that are not on this survey because they're not applicable to us. Things like, how do you like the library? we've pared it down, and at the end of this, I'm excited about the prospect that is before you, in that we have budgeted for the last couple of years $10,000 to complete a community survey. Now, where we've gotten it to, we actually be able to send the survey out to all of our property owners, to all of our residents, and afford to have it self-addressed stamped envelope returned to us. So it is about as comprehensive a coverage. Typically, you'll get 1% of your residents, and then go through the analysis to make sure it's statistically reliable, and that we'll achieve that quite easily. So following this, the intent from my position is that we will get these results in a couple of months. Come the beginning of 2021, we'll have a different board makeup. It'll be a good opportunity for us to all get together, take a look at these, and help to create a strategic plan and our priorities. So we have a number of things and challenges before us, and what are the rankings, what is important to our community, and to use it really as a foundation for future actions and future decisions, because we now have something that is reflective of what our community believes. So I highly recommend moving forward. I'm excited about it. I'm excited about the opportunity to engage with literally every household here and find out what they're thinking about what we're doing. And we'll take it from there once we hear, and we'll go through that process. So recommend moving forward.
Thank you, Bill. Your comments from the board, Jane?
I have none.
Jay?
I do not either. Thank
Greg?
you.
I love the idea of a survey. I want to, maybe it's a good time to thank all the community members who have reached out to me via phone and email. I love hearing from the community. I would love to see a 75% or more turnout on this survey and get 75% or more. So I'm putting out a
challenge.
Challenge, thank you. So if this community responds greater than 75% response rate on this survey, I will put my germophobia aside and sit in the dunk tank at the next 4th of July celebration festivities at Cub Lake.
Wow.
That might be worth going door to door on, Greg.
Yeah, that might be.
All right. Hey, however you get it, 75%, I'm doing it.
All right, thank you. Terry, your comments, please.
A couple of things. The cost of the survey itself is nominal, so I have no problem with that. From my personal point of view, surveys come in two categories. If I'm totally enraged at the service I've got, I will go through and give all the individual answers as much detail as possible, maybe marking down a little bit because of my anger. In general, if the work seems to be it a call center or whatever it happens to be, generally okay, I'll just give them excellent, and would I recommend your service to my friends? Yes, absolutely. So I'm not sure that my personal way of looking at it is extremely valid. I think Greg is pretty safe. Statistically, responses to this kind of thing tend not to run very heavy. So he's not going to have to get wet, is my guess. One other thing occurs to me. Back in the 1980s, when I was a working person, there was a big push to have the manufacturing companies become ISO 9001 certified. And this is a very detailed look at how companies or agencies or whoever it happens to be, because it spreads across the whole economy, really, how you're doing business and how you should be doing business. And I pointed out in studying this thing that, okay, do you realize this in speaking to our president? Do you realize that if we actually did all this stuff, you would be committing to really changing the basic way we do business? There's just enough changes here that this is not what we do in this company. And of course, they decided to Mickey Mouse it. They gave it a gloss and said, well, okay, yeah, you got somebody, paid somebody to certify it, and yeah, we're good. But it was not ISO 9000. But what if we got a 75% response? And what if we got the great majority of the people saying, I don't like the way you're doing this at all? You know, you got to change things or I'm not going to be happy. You have to sort of be ready for that kind of response, Bill.
I hear you. No, and I think it is something that will prompt and it should our conversations, our discussions, our engagement. So I hear you.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you, Terry. My quick comments. I hear from the public too, and they have suggestions and ideas. And I think when you eliminate the small percentage of people that are negative about everything, I think everybody's interested in improving the valley where we live. This is a magnificent place, and I think it's a great idea to do this just to get the input from all of our constituents, because I think it makes us better people, when we have that information at hand. So, I think it's a great idea. Okay, so Christy, any comments from the public?
Yes, we have 3 now. Kathy Kinnear.
You don't have to call on me first, Christy.
Well, you're the one who had your hand up first.
Oh, well, it's just because in case I fall asleep, I want to make sure that, not that it wasn't interesting. So I'm in favor of the community survey. I don't even have a total problem with the price. My concern, and it's too late because the horse left the barn, is more of a process. I would have liked to have seen the communication committee actually work on this project with Megan and send a draft, get input from the community in the design of the questionnaire. Now, Cobalt's probably pulling their hair out if they're on the call, because obviously they know how to do these and they're professional. It's not that I'm questioning theirs, but we need community buy-in, because Terry's right, we're not going to get a very high response. And if we had the communication committee involved, we could have a way to try to have people reach out, tell a friend, like they're doing around the census. Have you filled out your census? And Megan can't do it all, nor should she do it all. And even the board members, we need a little more community participation. And they even could have had a hand perhaps in tabulating, although it's probably all computerized and you don't have to do that old-fashioned stuff anymore. But you're trying to get community buy-in to the end product, because now if people don't like the results, then it's all going to be about the process, and you should have talked to me. And it may or may not have changed the results. So I just wish we could have involved more people in the initial design of it. But I'm all for the project.
Thank you, Kathy. Chrissy, you got anybody else?
Fred Hicks.
Yeah, I had 2 questions for Bill. Bill, you said you had previous experience with Cobalt, and I was wondering what your response rate was on that previous experience and what your anticipated response rate from Cobalt is on this new engagement study going forward.
So it was a number of years ago. I'm going to go, 2 years back anyway. And again, when you do these kinds of surveys, typically what they look for is a response large enough to get into a 3 to 5% margin of error, and that gets you into the range of being statistically reliable. And it's been a long time since I took statistics classes and had to deal with all that. But the point is, by receiving a certain number of what's gone out, you can then state that it is reflective of the community, plus or minus, and that reliability is critical. So we achieved it back there, but I didn't have any other goals on getting a margin of error here, other than that which would cause statistical reliability. When we were able to take this and turn it into something that we could actually engage every household, I think the statistical reliability question is out the window, that we will achieve it. But so I didn't have a preconceived idea of a number or anything to this one, but was more excited that we actually can get it to everybody, because usually it's cost prohibitive to send it out to everyone.
So you're hoping at least like a 10% response rate then?
Oh, no. I if you were now asking me, I'm looking for 76%, because I on 4th of July.
Correct, but in a realm of perceived reliability.
You know what? I still don't have one, and I just hope, and I've already written down my notes. I hear what Kathy's saying. I think part of what we need to do is to pre-notice everybody that it's coming, and to get people to realize we want their input and we intend to use their input, and to help us by being a part of the community and community engagement. So whether it's utility bills, bear tracks, electronic newsletters, postcards, whatever tools we can come up with to try to make it more productive, we'll do. So I still don't have a number for you, Fred, and
No, that's fine.
You know,
mainly I just wanted to ask, and I agree with Kathy Kinnear, I think you need community buy-in to make it successful.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Fred. Christy, is anybody else there?
I have a couple more. So Fiona.
Hello, everyone. I have 2 points. Bill, will the questions be about things like infrastructure? I know you mentioned, okay, we like the library, but will these questions be used towards, for example, a 5-year plan?
Yes, and the intent is to take this and to use it to begin strategic planning, goal setting, prioritization. That's how I've used it in the past. That's how I intend to use it this time with the board. So yes, we talk about transportation, and it's in the packet, Fiona, if you get a chance. Transportation infrastructure, utility services, transfer stations. And we try to cover all of those things that we do and get a sense of how people are using them and how satisfied are they.
Okay, great. I think that's really important to get that point across to people so that they feel empowered that this is their chance to guide and drive and direct perhaps a 5-year plan. And I'm really glad that every household is going to get one rather than just a percentage. I'm really happy about that. And too bad for my husband, because I think we're all going to be pushing really hard to get our friends and neighbors to fill it all in.
Amen.
Thank you.
Thank you. One more, Christy?
Actually, 2 more. Kathy had one more thing to say. Kathy Kinnear.
Just a quick question. Is Cobalt doing any follow-up phone calls? Let's say we don't get to the threshold. Do they have a plan to how we would get to that threshold?
I don't recollect one offhand, Kathy. And I know other surveys, they do that. They do follow up. So in this case, I'm trying to look quickly at to see what is included. So they've got setups, offsites, web links, etc. So it's a great question. I don't know that we have another push.
So again, I would just ask that you, if the communication volunteers are still willing to have a conversation about this, that would be something I would try to engage them with Cobalt to find strategies to make sure we get to our statistically significant results. So we've just poured $10,000 down the drain. That's all.
Thank you.
Chrissy?
Jiva.
Can you hear me now? Okay. My question is regarding the property owners. You're going to be sending one to each and every one. Is there anything that identifies if they're a property owner of unimproved property, or if they live on the property, or if they have a rental property? Because that does reflect in their experience here, and I think it should be weighted accordingly.
So let me just clarify. If we go to the item of our agreement with them, we're sending it to every home. So to clarify, looks like we're not sending it to 3,675 lots. We're sending it to 2,950 approximately homes, and whether those are full-time residents or part-time residents or renters. Part of that is to be discerned in the survey tool itself. So we ask them of what is the nature of their residence, but we're not sending it to all property owners. So
okay, misunderstood that. And will there be, as I was looking at the survey you posted here, will there be room for writing comments for every line item issue or group of questions?
But there are a couple of write-ins at the end of the tool that asks for, you know, what do they like and what can we improve upon for their experience living here. So that there's that kind of, but honestly, my experience would limit the just write-in narrative because that goes all over the place. You really can't. You can get some things out of it, but statistically you can't, if that makes sense.
It does, but some people may like the little moment of gripe session. You
Well,
know,
they can use the
getting it
boxes
down in
to write
paper
it.
to you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Is that it, Chrissy?
That is all.
Okay. Then we'll call for a motion on this particular item, 11E. Board?
I move the Board of Directors authorize the general manager to execute a contract in the amount not to exceed $9,638 with Cobalt Community Research for the 2020 Bear Valley Community Engagement Study.
Second.
Okay, Christy, roll call, please.
Director Barron?
Aye.
Director Carlin?
Aye.
Director Hahn?
Aye.
Vice President Quinn?
Aye.
President Roberts? Motion carries.
Okay. Thank you. Item 11F, approved job description, administrative class. Christy?
Okay, this is an ongoing process that we are updating job descriptions or creating job descriptions for those positions that do not currently have them. Right now we have before you an administrative class job description. It goes from administrative assistant 1 through 3 to administrative specialist and then administrative supervisor. In order to, we have recommend that the administrative assistant have a progressive ladder from 1 to 3, and then create the position of administrative specialist that functions in a higher capacity. We have the need for that. And then we currently have a position called administrative analyst that we would like to reclassify as administrative supervisor, sorry. In order to do that, it also requires revising our full-time salary scale to add those positions to the scale. The board has approved this as part of the budget, so they also need, you would also need to approve the revision of that. And that's all I have, and if you have any questions.
Okay, Jane?
I have no questions.
Jay?
No, I don't. Very comprehensive. Again, the board packet is extremely very detailed and tremendous amount of work put into it. So no comments from me. Thank you.
Okay, Greg?
I'm good, thank you.
Terry?
No comments.
Yeah, it was a great deal of work, and thank you for that. I don't have any other comments than that. Public comments, Chrissy.
Kathy Kinnear?
Just a process question, Christy. I've done this type of project before. It's my least favorite project to do, so I applaud you for getting it done. Because you can't make people happy. Job descriptions lead to pay, as you pointed out. Did you match the job duties to any other, like state employees, city employees, and their classification to make sure that we're consistent in how we classify the employees based on the functions that they do?
We did with the administrative assistant. The administrative supervisor is currently on this line. The administrative specialist, we decided that it was comparable to the communications position, and that's why we put it there.
Yeah, I guess I would, in the future, recommend that even, there are people who you hired to do these types of things, and I understand you want to save money, but the only thing that stood out for me is that an administrative supervisor at the same salary level as a senior police officer, and I kind of went, wow, that's that may be appropriate. I don't know. It just didn't look right to me, and so that's all.
Okay, is there anybody else, Chrissy?
No, that's it.
Okay, we'll entertain a motion when I see it on the screen. Board?
I move the board of directors approve the job description for administrative class and the accompanying revision for the full-time salary scale relative to those positions.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Christie, roll call, please.
Director Barron?
Aye.
Director Carlin?
Aye.
Director Hahn?
Aye.
Vice President Quinn?
Aye.
President Roberts?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay, thank you. 11G, adopt resolution 20/21-13 approving fiscal year 2020-21 investment policy. Mr. Jones, please.
Thank you, President Roberts. In accordance with California Government Code, the district is required to annually review and make any necessary changes to its investment policy. The investment policy was last reviewed on September 12th, 2019. Staff reviewed the policy. As far as investment statutes in the California Government Code, there were some changes, but they were not applicable to our investments, so there were no changes necessary there. One change that we did make was for our local agency investment fund. That's our LAIF pool that we invest some of our surplus funds in. The maximum amount per account was increased from 65 to 75 million. That would be great if we could ever reach that limit, but regardless, needed to make the change for the investment policy. The other changes we made in the policy was just changing any references from Administrative Services Director to Treasurer. The resolution before you will rescind the investment policy adopted last year and approve this updated investment policy. And I'm available for any questions you may have.
Thank you. Jane?
No.
Okay. Jay?
No comments. Thank you, Steve.
Greg?
I'm thinking of a challenge that I could offer up if we could get that fund up to 75 million.
Yeah, right.
No, thank you.
Terry?
Put him in the dunk tank too with you?
Terry?
No comment, thank you.
Yeah, I just appreciate all that you do, Hamid. Your investments have been wonderful, and you're a great asset to this district. And I just want to thank you, for all that you do.
Thank you.
Christy, any public comments?
There are none.
Okay, your board, I'll entertain a motion.
Move the Board of Directors adopt Resolution 20/21-13, approving the fiscal year 2020-21 investment policy.
Second.
A motion made in second. Christy, roll call, please.
Director Barron?
Aye.
Director Carlin?
Aye.
Director Hahn?
Aye.
Vice President Quinn?
Aye.
President Roberts?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay. Item 11H, accept quarterly investment report as of June 30th, 2000. This says 19. Shouldn't that be 20?
Yes, should be 20.
It should be.
Okay, 2020. Mr. Jones.
Thank you again, President Roberts. In accordance with the investment policy and with California Government Code, the district is required to submit a quarterly investment report to the Board of Directors. This report shows the district's balances in its investment accounts and its operating accounts as of June 30th, 2020. The balances are as follows. In its investment accounts, we have $7,279,000, and in the operating accounts, we had just under $229,000. And that's a total of about $7.5 million. Compared to the quarter ending March 31st, that's an increase of $488,000, and that's primarily from the property taxes that were received by the district in April and May. The next page of the report further breaks down those balances by our different investment vehicles and by the cash balances within our various funds. And with that, I'm available for any questions.
Thank you, Hamid. Jane?
No questions.
Jay?
No questions for me either, Steve.
Okay, Greg?
To get to 75 million, we just have to add a zero. I think we're good. It should be easy.
Okay. Terry?
Oh.
And I don't have any questions either. Going to the public, Christy.
There are none.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion, please.
I move the Board of Directors accept the quarterly investment report as of June 30, 2020.
Second.
Second.
Okay, a motion made in second. Christy, roll call, please.
Director Barron?
Aye.
Director Carlin?
Aye.
Director Hahn?
Aye.
Vice President Quinn?
Aye.
President Roberts?
Aye. Motion made and carried. Item 11I, accept monthly investment report as of July 31st, 2020. Mr. Jones.
Thank you. In addition to submitting a quarterly investment report, district staff also presents a monthly investment report that provides the balances for our operating and investment accounts. As of July 31st, we had $6,453,000 in our investment accounts and another $150,000 in our operating accounts. That's a total of $6.6 million. And that was a reduction of just over $900,000 compared to the balances as of June 30th. That reduction is again primarily due to a lot of annual payments that we make in July. So we have large payments for our CalPERS, as well as our insurance and as well as debt service on some of our bonds. And so that is kind of a normal reduction that we would see every year in July. And again, following this is more detail that breaks down these balances amongst the various funds of the district. And I'm available for any questions you may have.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jones. Jane?
I have no questions. Thank you, Hamid.
Jay?
None for me.
Greg? Was that a no?
No, yeah, no questions. Thank you.
Okay. Terry?
Thank you.
Yeah, and I have no questions either. Thank you. Christy from the public?
There are none.
I'll accept the motion, please.
I move the Board of Directors accept the monthly investment report as of July 31st, 2020.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Director Barron?
Aye.
Director Carlin?
Aye.
Director Hahn?
Aye.
Vice President Quinn?
Aye.
President Roberts?
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you very much. Item 12 under information and discussion items. Item 12A, Police Department Policy Manual. Yo, Chief.
Hello, Mr. President, members of the board. It's great to see you all. Mr. President, members of the board, you might be aware that the police department has been engaged in an update, a very thorough update of the police department policy manual. This is a process that's probably been ongoing for over a year. So this is the culmination of that process. We sought the very capable assistance of the JJK group to help with this process. I'll have a few more comments on proposed policy, but if it's okay, Mr. President, I'd like to first introduce Jeff Kermode, who's got a for you on this process, if that's okay.
Oh, absolutely. Hi, Jeff. How are you?
Good evening, President Roberts. Pleasure to speak with you on the board this evening. Coming to you from the Clovis Rodeo Grounds, large animal emergency shelter for the creek fire.
Oh.
Yep. Putting in long days as well as someone else you may know. As the board may be aware, the last time the department policy manual was revised was in 2014. And Lexipol, the department's content provider, typically provides at least 2 major updates every year, as well as urgent updates as those. Having served in the chief role, I know how difficult it is to try and accomplish the work on this manual when you're also performing all those other duties. And the district contracted with my group to do the. So on March 31st, actually completed the draft submission. Since that time, it was sent to Chief Melanson for his input on all the recommendations and edits. It also was sent to Ms. McEwen for review to make sure nothing in this manual was in conflict with the new employee handbook and employee personnel policies. So both the chief and Ms. McEwen reviewed hundreds of pages to provide their final recommendations to me. Just some overview things about the manual. The original Bear Valley manual was never customized for Bear Valley. A lot of just the boilerplate language was followed. The manual referred to 3 divisions in our small police department. It had division chiefs, it had titles that weren't used. My approach was to clean all that up and create a streamlined department structure and a streamlined chain of command and the elimination of titles that were never used. It's interesting that between March and when I started on this final update, just in the use of force area in this policy, there were 27 more updates. The outgrowth of everything that's been happening in the nationwide protests and changes in California law. So it is always a living document, but what's coming before you tonight, 661 pages, 159 different policy sections broken down into 10 chapters. And then each policy section is based either on federal law, state law, or best practices as Lexipol has researched around the country. I think an important way for the board to approach their review of this policy manual, you can either start with the table of contents at the front of the manual, and you can decide which chapters you want to look at, which of those topics in those chapters particularly interest you. I know it's going to be a challenge to read all 661 pages, but you could at least focus on those that you have particular interest in. The other option is go to the end of the document at the index and do a similar type of thing. That's my best recommendation for trying to break it down and review it. Lexipol, this is the 3rd time I'm involved in the Lexipol manual. I was on the implementation team in Irvine PD when they transitioned. At Tehachapi PD, I had the luxury of creating the manual before the department went active. So I have a lot of experience working within their system. Once the board is able to review this, the prior manual was never reviewed by the board or adopted or approved by the board. But once we have the working document in place, then it can be distributed immediately via PDF to all department members, as well as appropriate hard copies. And then the process becomes much more simple if you keep up with the quarterly or biannual updates, and you always have an up-to-date manual. So that's the substance of my presentation. I'd certainly be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Yeah.
Mr. President, may I make a comment on that?
Yes, oh, absolutely, Chief. Go ahead, please.
Thank you, Jeff, for that. You know, when I first got to Bear Valley, first was hired, I knew that the policy was a bit outdated. It's something that's always concerned me. There's no bigger resource for a chief or all members of a department, a law enforcement agency, than a policy manual that is defensible and current, and that just provides a day-to-day, you know, roadmap to do your job. There's just so many things we get out of it. On another note, we're dumping a large document onto the board members to read and consume. We're clearly, this is something that's not that you're going to want to maybe take some time on. And as Jeff pointed out, there's certainly, you will find very quickly, there are policies that are a lot more important to pay close attention to, and certain ones that a quick scan at best is probably sufficient. But a 30 to 60 day, hopefully, time frame is what I would propose. Obviously, that could be moved if it was quickly recognized that that wasn't enough. We'd like to come forward maybe in either the what would be the October, November board, and for hopefully for and I don't even know what we're calling it, approval by the board or ratification, or confirmation, whatever you want to call it. And that concludes my comments on it, Mr. President. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Chief. Board members, do you have any questions, Jane?
No, I have no questions. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Tim.
Certainly.
Jay?
I do not have any. Thank you.
Greg?
I'm very proud of the work that our police department does. Thank you.
No.
Thank you, Greg.
Terry?
I don't know who this really goes to, Jeff or Chief, but since we're really understriking the fact that you got federal law, you got state law, and you got best practices, as it's currently shown, can you tell which of the policies are federal law, which ones are state law, and which ones are nice to do?
Chief, would you like me to take that?
Yes, please.
Okay. You won't see it highlighted in that manner. In the online version where you're making the edits, they're color coded as to your choices as to what the source is. What you will find is every one of those policies that is relying upon state or federal law, that state or federal code section is actually referenced in the policy section, so you know where it's coming from.
Okay.
Good.
So things, most of like the high liability topic, use of force, arrest procedures, vehicle pursuits, firearms, most of those are sourced in state or federal law. When you get into things like child abuse, missing persons, again, most of those are going to be mandated under state law. You'll get into some of the other ones where you have more discretion, and that's where we try and go with best practices or what is appropriate for an agency of Bear Valley size and a community of Bear Valley's type, activity level and such.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Okay, and my other comment is 661 pages. We have our work cut out for us to review. So thank you, Jeff.
If in the future, as you go forward, you have any questions, certainly you can reach out directly to me or through the chief, and we'll get questions answered as quickly as we can.
Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you, Chief. Moving on to B, fuel reduction grant update. Bill?
Mr. President, members of the board, some action has been taking place. As you know, you approved hiring of a forester, so Tim Morin came and we met, and we've gone over maps, and so he's more familiar with the particular areas. One of the delays that we did encounter was we learned from Jeff Gletney that until you have an executed agreement back from CAL FIRE, don't be going out there and spending, because you don't get reimbursed for those. So we got the agreement back, so that's checked off. One of the things that asked of Tim is to go through and identify all the various steps, which he's done. Looking at the priority areas, getting participation, archaeological checks and records, and currently that's what he's doing. So he's made requests to get the archaeological, and then I think he's got to do some biological checks, and then there's some SEQA work he's got to complete before we can really get into it. And then probably the biggest thing is going forward, preparing a request for proposals for the logger. I would say we are aware of some large properties up there on the mountain in the 20, 40, 80 acre size that, hopefully those folks are interested in participating. And again, we haven't done a huge reach out, but because we can get a lot of work done in short order, we hope, if that's the case. So and that's kind of the latest and greatest. Tim is on vacation this week, so he couldn't join us, and I wasn't going to ask him to interrupt his vacation. And that's the update, and I'll take any questions you may have.
Okay, Jane?
No, I have no questions.
Jay?
I don't have any questions at this time either.
Great.
Nothing.
Terry?
None, thank you.
Well, yeah, just a few, just some quick questions real quick. In this grant, Bill, is there any provisions for erosion control when we're removing these trees and what have you?
I don't believe so. No, I think it's really focused on the act of taking down and bucking the trees and all the slash. I learned that word that
Right.
comes in disposing of it. I will say this, we and not to go too far from your question, Mr. President, but we are looking at something called a fire curtain, which my understanding of it is it's a kind of a localized portable incinerator that may really be slick if you think about if we could use that up there. And again, understand, I don't want to alarm anybody about risks of fire. However, if it were a reliable, safe kind of thing, and we could use it there, we could get so much more done, because the bulk of this is the hauling of the timber off the mountain and up, to a mill or somewhere where they can process it. If we didn't have to pay for that, we could get even more done. And I see that potential to be then, if it's portable, moved down and we could use it for our green waste, so that wouldn't have to be hauled in the future. So just plant that with you, that we're working on some other fronts, but I don't think it includes erosion control.
Okay, good. Well, if you just keep us up to date on all the actions that I'm very much interested in our forests and getting it put back to its normal state, which will take many, many, many years, but the sooner we start, the better. So thank you for that. Okay. Item C, November 3rd, 2020, consolidation general election update. Christie.
President Roberts, we have 2 public comments for the previous item.
Well, I'm not so sure that that's open for public comment. These were just information discussions, and really doesn't allow for that. I'm happy to entertain that. Yeah, I'm just saying that, I didn't do that because it's just information and discussion by the parties. But if you want, I'm okay with that. Sure.
That would be your call. So.
Yes. Well, I want to hear from the public then. Sure.
Okay. Kathy Kinnear.
Just a technical question, and Bill may not know it, about the ratio of how much of the land is CSD owned versus privately owned. And if the CSD land can begin first to expedite the process while you are lining up homeowners who will agree.
And I don't have a specific answer for you, but I have a sense, and that is that I think we're looking for the private property owners to get their properties cleared. My sense is it is more towards the private than the CSD properties. And that's another, one of the challenges I understand has been just the huge expense that a private property owner faces when they have this decimation of the woods in their property. So we'll check that out. I think when Tim and I get back and we're looking at that, I may be able to give you a better number.
And Jiva?
Yes, I wanted to answer the question about the erosion control. Our previous logger, hang on a second. Our previous logger, when they do go through with their skidder and pull the logs out, and of course it digs ditches and stuff, but they come back through and build up berms in a manner that helps with erosion control. And apparently when the inspector comes, when they're done with an area, they look for that. So that's all I know about the erosion control. So I wanted to pass that on to you. Thank you.
Appreciate that. Okay.
That's all.
Okay. Item number C then, consolidated general election update. Christy.
Okay, well, this one is probably, everybody already knows it, but we're following up on the general election. It will be held on November 3rd. Declaration of candidacy forms were available from July 13th to August 7th. And then the filing deadline was extended for 5 more days because Director Barron did not file candidacy papers. So as of August 12th, we have 1 incumbent, Director Carlin, and 4 challengers, John Grace, Charles Jensen, Catherine Kinnear, and Steve Miles. The election will be consolidated with the general election in November, and that's pretty much it. We estimate a cost of about $5 per registered voter, around $19,520,000.
Okay. I'm not so sure that even requires any discussion by the board. Those are just facts that I think everybody already knows.
Just
does any board member have a comment?
I do, Steve.
Yes, please.
Christy, could we actually post a document that states what we approved on the candidate signs and where they're to be posted and where they can place them? So
sure.
They're not all over the city?
Sure.
That's a good point, Jay. That's a part of the district code, and I think each candidate needs to have that information so they don't violate the code.
I stated it.
Yep.
President.
Good job.
We'll look into that tomorrow.
Okay, Jane, you have any questions or comments?
No.
Okay, Greg?
A quick thank you to all 5 people willing to serve the community.
Okay. Terry?
No comment.
Okay, and I don't have any comments. Okay. Chrissy, you want to see if there's anything from the community?
There is none.
Okay, moving forward, board comments. Director Barron.
I have none.
Director Carlin.
I do not have any either, Steve. Thank you.
Okay. Director Hahn.
No, thank you.
Vice President Quinn.
None, thank you.
Wow, none of us have anything to talk about, and I don't either, actually. So I'm just going to just move right along. Staff reports, finance report, Mr. Jones.
Thank you, President Roberts. The items before you are the finance activity reports. We have one for period 12 of fiscal year 1920, so that's the month of June. It reflects the activity for the entire year. I do want to point out that these numbers are unaudited. We still have some accounting entries and maybe some few invoices trickling in to still pay for last fiscal year, so the numbers are subject to change. The other activity report we have is for period 1 of the new fiscal year 20-21, and that's for the month of July. And so I am available for any questions you may have.
Okay, Jane?
I have none.
Jay?
On either. Thank you, Ahmed.
Greg?
Thanks, Ahmed.
Terry?
None.
Okay, and thank you, Hamid, also. I don't have any questions. Moving on. Well, I guess we'll get back to the public again, Christy.
No public.
Okay, Public Works report, Mr. Melanin.
Mr. President, members of the board, you have the report. I hope you have noticed that all division supervisors have been attending the meeting tonight in the event that there were any questions, but we stand ready to answer any if you have them. Otherwise, you have our report.
Okay, Jane?
No, I have no questions.
Jay?
I don't have any either. Thank you.
Greg?
Zippo.
Terry?
None, thank you.
Okay, to all of the your supervisors, you guys are really stepping up, doing the job. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. I'm out here seeing what's going on. Larry, I see some great work's been cleaning up around the transfer station and the employee parking lot. There's a little bit more left to do. So the sooner we get that cleaned up, the better. The weeds, the presentation when we come in, you should always be clean and everything. And I appreciate your efforts. So thank you.
Oh, you're welcome, sir. Thank you.
Mr. President, can I add one thing?
Yes.
Regarding the transfer station, I note in my last visit that I was questioned by that nice young lady at the gate as to whether or not I had any lumber, metal, various items, 4 items that are currently not listed on the signboards that we have in the transfer station. And I'm curious as to whether or not this will be a short-term issue, or will we need to add these items to the board signs and make it kind of ongoing policy? And I think the same thing applies to the website. I think there's guidelines on what can be dumped at the on the website.
There are. The reason they're asking is because apparently construction material is vague. I know a 2x4 is construction material, but other people seem to think it is not. So that's simply why we're just asking. We're trying to come up with a very short, very sweet, very pleasant, hi, how you doing? Thank you. Have a beautiful day. Do you have this, this, or this? And you would be surprised at how many people do have these things. They just don't know that it falls in that category. And so we're helping them the best that we can.
Oh, she's doing a fine job, no question about that. What I'm curious about is if it's policy, if you get some obstreperous person who says, well, where is that written down? I don't see anything on any signs around here that says I can't dump. I've dumped this stuff for years. What's the problem? Don't we have to sort of cover ourselves?
We do. But that, believe it or not, that happens every day, all day long, until the sun goes down. And then you can't see what's in their vehicle and it winds up on the ground anyway.
Take a look at it, Director.
Absolutely, yeah. Terry, just also, I've been really looking at the transfer station and what a good job our people are doing. One of the items, we have that little bump there with a stop sign, and sometimes when the person is out working doing something else away from the gate, people were driving through there about 20 miles an hour, just speeding through to get to the dump, and then looking around and then throwing whatever they could throw around. And this way, by stopping them and just reminding them, it's a nice way rather than having a confrontation. Hey, you can't throw that, because I know Bill and I sat out there one day and watched the confrontations by people, attacking our employees because they're speaking with them about, that shouldn't go in the dumpster and this and that. So I think that your crew's doing a great job trying to educate, which would be a good word, educate the people that that's only for household trash, but I agree with you, it should be on some signs. We should have those things listed just so people know, and I don't disagree with that, but I just want to point out that there's been people trying to sneak around and throw it away, and this is an effort to improve it, and I think they're doing a great job.
Thank you.
Okay. Let's see, where are we now? I got off pace. Okay, so you're moving to a public safety report, Chief.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members of the board, you have my July and August public safety staff report, because there wasn't a meeting last year. In summary, staffing with the department, we're still down 1 full-time officer position, and we have 1 candidate in backgrounds. The only other thing I'd like to bring to your attention is that I've added one bit of information to each staff report, my monthly staff report, and that is the incident by type. That information we get directly from the Kern County Emergency Dispatch Center, and it just gives the board and hopefully the public a little better idea of what our officers are doing out there, in conjunction with the summary report at the end of each report that has the table that shows the activity and the crime occurrences. With that, be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you, Chief. Jane?
No, nothing.
Jay?
Thank you, Chief. I welcome the addition. It actually shows that they're just not handshakers out there, that they're actually performing what a police department is. And I'm always for the police department and not ever defunding it. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you. Greg?
Love you guys. Thanks a lot.
Terry?
No questions. Thank you.
Yeah, well, I echo everybody else. You know, without you guys, I don't know what the heck we would do. We really appreciate it, and they'll, you know, support you guys 1,000%. Anything from the public?
There are none.
Okay, thank you, Chief. General Counsel report, Mr. Davis.
Just a quick update, Mr. President, that the General Manager and I are going to meet with TransTech to review the proposal. And once we get I guess the revised proposal sorted out, we will send it with the board. I don't know if it'll be tomorrow, but as soon as we get clarification on what a final proposal looks like, we will certainly get it out to you.
Okay, questions, Jane?
No, no question.
Jay?
Down to me, thank you.
Greg?
No, thank you.
Terry?
I have nothing.
Real quick, Don, on their proposal, we have the basic your contract under 600,000, then the options. I'm very much interested in seeing what those options are, and the, you know, the sketches as to where they apply to. Yeah, I think it's downstream, you know, but you know, I really want to see that as soon as we can, because we need to understand what those options are, and is it really necessary to go forward, because an extra $180,000 is not in the wind right now. So,
Understood. And I think our first concern also is just with the base bid and clarifying that.
Yes.
So that's what I want to firm up
Yep.
the option, so you don't have any confusion about what a final proposal from Granite looks like.
Good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any comments from the public, Chrissy?
None.
Okay, thank you very much, Don. General Manager report, Mr. Mellon.
Mr. President, members of the board, first item, as you know, we've been going through on the wastewater permitting process, and we were slated to go to the board in October. We're going to delay that while we take a look at Sycamore Canyon and whether it now qualifies under some recently revised federal regulations as an emerald stream. That process analysis would save the district thousands of dollars every year, and it looks like it is a worthwhile exercise for us. And so we've been working with the regional board. We're all on the same page. We're going to go take a look at that and then go through the permit, because it may not be an NPDES any longer, but just a discharge permit, which has less testing and requirements, hence the savings. The chief, I think, might have reported on the countywide multi-jurisdictional hazard mitigation program. That's where, for all jurisdictions in Kern, they identify what are the potential hazards that a community could suffer: earthquake, high winds, tornadoes, or fire, etc. And then once you've identified those things, you go about identifying how can that be mitigated. As an example, for us, it may be that we need some improvements to the water system to improve our fire suppression system. If that's the case, once all of this is done, we have a document that actually supports our grant applications for state and federal dollars. So Kern County is doing a great job pulling this all together, and we're probably halfway through. I think the chief will be reporting back on the next couple of steps, but we've made pretty good progress, it sounds like. Also want to direct people to our website and our new and improved police department page. So Megan Clark has again put a lot of effort into improving how we can share information with the community about what they do, what resources we have, etc. So I would invite anyone and everyone to take a look at that. We are hopeful, and this is for Mr. Jones, he's hot on the trail of a new phone system for us here at the CSD office, and we're excited about that prospect and hopeful it can happen soon in the next month or two. And another exciting thing, well 33, which is the lake fill well for Four Island, has been down. We've been having some real challenges with the electrical system after we've rehabbed it. You recall we rehabbed well 8 at Cub and 33 at Four Island so that we could be able to put some fresh water in there. Well 33 is operational and, as far as I know, operating. So we are running water into Four Island for the association. The guardrail project is moving forward, and I'm going to stop there. That's all I highlighted for now, and I stand for any questions you may have.
Okay, thank you. Jane?
Oh, what happened with well 25? Did Edison come out to?
So Edison apparently came out and was going to abandon it and found another live meter. And so Will Parks can address that a little bit more, but so it hasn't been done. And as soon as they get that second live meter out of the way, then I guess Bakersfield well and pumping, if that's the term, will be able to come out and wrap it up.
Okay, I just wondered if Edison had in fact come out to check that.
They had, yes.
Okay.
Found a surprise.
Yeah. Jay?
I don't have any questions. Thank you.
Greg?
None. Thank you.
Terry?
I have nothing.
Just one quick question, Bill. Well 8 and well 33 are now active, and those are lake fill wells. Going back, a couple years ago, there was we had agreement with the BVSA and our board to use $70,000 out of the recreation fund to repair the lake fill wells. So have we expended that full amount of money, or do we have other wells to fix to be paid for out of that amount of money?
I believe we've used all of it. My recollection, and Hamid can correct me, we invested on the order of $40,000 each for those wells. So, we used all of what may have been designated out of that $75,000. I don't know that we have, and this one is for Will Parks, I don't think we have more lake fill wells to rehabilitate.
Okay, good. That's I just wanted to know that. That's perfect. Okay, is there anything from the public, Christy? I guess not.
There's nothing there, Steve.
Okay. Well, thank you, Bill, for that report. Future agenda items. Would you like to read them, Christy, or you want me to read them?
I can read them.
Sure.
Future items would be approve the police policy manual that's slated for October, perhaps November. Adopt ordinance 2253, amending Chapter 9, Section 2 of Title 1, Administration of the District Code pertaining to procedures for retention of records, or actually for all of the records. C, approve a budget amendment for the transfer station reconfiguration project. D, approve an updated fee schedule. E, 2021 Disaster Preparedness Advisory Council appointments. The recruitment for that is ongoing now. And F, a public hearing for the sewer rates, which is scheduled for November 12th, 2020.
Okay, I want to thank everyone once again for their participation. A motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Okay, next meeting, regular scheduled meeting for the Board of Directors is October the 8th, 2020. Thank you all, you the public, for attending this, and you thank everybody for their participation. Good night.
Thank you.
Good night.
Thank you.
Night.